Okay, video 2. So Lindsay, this is yours. I'll say overall this looks really good, with one little issue, which is where the platform comes forward and just kind of stops and kind of hits a wall. Like that's a phrase that you'll hear a lot in animation, and that it just stops moving. It feels like some sort of external force, like it hit something outside, and that's outside of itself, and that's what stopped it. So like in real life, it would probably get to this point and go past that and sort of, shoot, I'm probably doing this in the wrong angle, but um, object mode, maybe go like, so even something like that, or even a little bit more. um, and then come back to it. So like even something like that would get a, so I said that kind of, but then it also kind of locks in place right here and then takes off. And so I think that, this piece here, maybe in this frame, you just kind of move it a little bit. And so what it gets is, so you can kind of see the difference between that and how that's a little bit better. Okay, stop that. Don't save. Okay. So this one's feeling a little like some of the spots it hits a wall is a little hard. It also feels a little bit like, it feels like the pendulum is starting to pass it up here. Like, see how the top rotates down and starts to swing forward, maybe a little early, where right in through here maybe it would actually still be dragging back a little bit, and then it catches up. And then some of this here, I think a lot of your overlapping action is feeling pretty good, but it's feeling a touch hitchy. If that's a, I feel like how it kind of hits and like clicks a little bit, like it's. And so I think that's stuff that sometimes like you just need to polish out stuff on the curves. So if you have a curve that's doing something like this or something like that, then it's just like, you just have to go through here and kind of make that happen more like that. So it's just little things that just need to be sort of ironed out in it. But overall, this one's working pretty well. You just have a couple of little hitches and a couple motion issues there. Melody. This one's listed as a file or final, but it doesn't have a file type. So actually just open this in QuickTime, I think. I think it worked fine that way. So I'm guessing you accidentally deleted the extension. Yeah. So overall, it's feeling like it hits a little hard in a couple spots. So it hits there and changes directions and hits really hard there and just sort of stops. And so it feels like the platform feels like it's like kind of bumping into something. You feel that? And so I think, playing with that, making sure that you feel how the platform just kind of feels locked in space for a long time there. I think playing with that a little bit to loosen it up. Overall, your overlapping action's working pretty well at the beginning here, I think. And then it gets a little, like there's some crinkles in it there at times. And then like in this one, it feels like it starts to lead from the bottom a little bit more. So I think the overlapping action and the curves in that still need a little bit more polish, but otherwise this one's doing all right. But yeah, I think it needs a little bit more attention on the platform, and then a little bit more polish on the curves and the pendulum. Okay, Joseph. Not bad. Excuse me. Feels like it kind of kind of has something happening there where it kind of changes directions kind of fast, and then kind of dies a little bit at the end. But it's a really good start. I think you can add a little bit more overlapping action on this to sort of loosen it up a little bit. And then I think it also gets, like, timing wise, it gets a little slow after this first flip here. Like, everything after that, it feels like it gets a little slow on the pendulum side to me. So if we watch this one more time. So yeah, and it's got a couple little hitches where it feels like it hits a, not hits a wall, but like it kind of feel like it kind of pops out of that a little bit. And so that's a little bit more of just digging around through your curves until it works correctly. Okay, Jordan. So I think that when we think of this as we have the platform and it's moving, and that's sort of the source of this energy that is causing the motion, right? The source, it's the where the force is coming from. When we think of it that way, I don't think the platform is moving enough to cause such big motions from the pendulum, right? Like it's like it barely stops right here at the end. Right there, it kind of barely stops, and this thing starts going kind of wild back and forth. So I think really playing with this platform, get that finalized. It also feels like it's really just sliding back and forth on one axis. So I think playing with that and getting that finalized and making it feel a little bit more natural, and then really think about, I mean, you know, you've seen stuff move before, how this thing is moving, and is that feeling like a real reaction to the amount of movement we're getting there. I can't tell about the overlapping action. It feels like you got a little bit in there, but I think it still need to be a little bit more. The arm's feeling a little stiff to me. So, JC. I'm guessing it's this one. Close to polished, getting closer. Look at the 2 dates here. This one seems like it was put up there later, so I'll watch them both. This one looks really good. Let me watch the other one and make sure it's not. I think the first one looks better, so I think this is the one that I create. So the first 3/4 of this are great. Like, all of this is really good. All of this looks really good. It's when it starts doing this here at the end that it gets a little bit lost of, like, it doesn't quite feel like lead and follow anymore there. I think it's because this piece here kind of feels like it jumps forward there a little bit and gets kind of out of whack. So other than that last little bit there, I think it's actually feeling pretty good. So just make sure that you're getting the correct lead and follow at that very end there. But otherwise, that one's really good. Okay, Sarah. First little dip, like, this is feeling really nice. This starts feeling a little stiff after that. Like, I think you can have it as it comes up here. You could have it sort of flip this end piece up a little bit more, and you get a little bit more like that or something like that. And then some of the last parts through here, this feels a little stiff and like it could use a little bit more overlap. Also, the platform itself feels like it starts kind of moving in straight lines. So we watch it kind of hits here, and then it kind of does pretty much a straight line up to here, and then it does, I think, something like that. And so really making sure that platform continues to move in arcs. There we go. But otherwise, it's feeling pretty good. I think, yeah, it just needs a little bit more overlapping action in the arm right through here as well. Shay. So other than it being a little dark and hard to see, there's some pretty good stuff in this. And the end's feeling really good there. It kind of peaks out and then backs up, and I feel like there's a point there where it feels like it does something, like it kind of locks. And I think it's because there's a couple of frames where that ball feels like in the bottom corner of the screen, it feels like it kind of gets stuck right there and then kind of pops out. So like that's something to work with, of like how that leaves the screen. It feels like it just kind of gets locked in that position a little bit and then pops out. But otherwise, this is feeling pretty good. Yeah, I mean, you got the notes on that. I think for the most part, it's you could always add a little bit more overlap to it, but otherwise, it's just that little part where it peeks out of the corner that I'm noticing. Steven. Steven, yours is feeling like it's hitting a wall too. Um, sorry, I had to make a bad joke. So you get this, let's open this up in QuickTime. Open with QuickTime. And so that feels really good. Like you kind of get this like spacing and then it's dunk. Like it hits really solid. I think that you could have a little bit more overlapping action in here. I'm feeling it in there, but I think you could have a little bit more. And it would feel a little bit more whip-like. So just like dragging the, probably these, dragging them by a frame, and maybe doing it like individually, that one by a frame, that one by one more frame, and that one by one more. But otherwise, I think this one's actually looking pretty good. So, and I really like the impact from that. So, Christina. Okay, so I think this one still needs a little bit more drag sort of built into the poses. Like this one feels pretty good, like it kind of flips around and we're getting some overlapping action. But then here it starts to feel like on this pose, it's curved this way even though it's dragging down. So I would think it would be actually more like this in real life. And then it would drag past that point and overshoot to here, so you get something like that as it flips around through there. So yeah, go from here to through this one and then past that. And so right now it's feeling a little like it's being led by the end piece. And so toward the end here we get a little bit more of that where it feels just a little bit like it's not got quite enough overlapping action in the end piece there. I think the flip looks pretty good, but some of the motions doesn't feel like there's quite as much lead and follow from the top piece down. Cody. I think same comment a lot of people are getting, feel like it needs more overlapping action, that they all kind of feel like they're rotating together, whether they are or not, whether you've actually offset stuff or not. It still feels that way. So it needs to feel like, yeah. So yeah, we got this here, right? And so this one hasn't changed directions yet, so it hasn't had time to flip these forward. And so it just feels like it's kind of rotating, and needs a little bit more. It just needs to feel like a little bit more drag to it. So at this point here, I would expect this to look more like something like that, right? And then flip past that after it stops rotating forward. So that's my biggest note. It feels a little stiff, and this feels a little slow right here. for the amount of energy that the platform moves forward here, this swing of the arm feels a little high. And in fact, well, that drag feels alright. That swing feels a little high, and it feels like that this is feeling a little crooked. Like this is a little bit S-shaped. And so like it just feels like it doesn't die down and lose energy the right way there. So Matthew. So this one, I feel like it's an energy issue here too. Like, so for example, it's really high up there, and then it kind of feels like you flip it down right there, the pendulum. Um, you kind of move upwards, and I feel like that it kind of pops downwards a little too fast for that. And so then this energy here, like it's kind of like you're losing that energy out to the end of it, but then it kind of speeds up a little bit there and feels kind of weird. And then so this movement moves it over to here, but then when it gets to this point, it kind of ricochets back and forth there, feeling a little too fast. Like maybe it feels like maybe it rotates forward a little early, but then it kind of vibrates a little fast to stop. And then maybe this is an awkward motion here that's kind of hard to figure out how to animate that. So maybe make that one a little dips and then kind of pops up and then back up. Maybe make that a cleaner arc, because I think that kind of throws it off a little bit too. Through this section it just feels a little stiff, and so I think that could help us just to kind of drag it a little bit more and get a little bit more offset on this. So I think your platform's looking pretty good. I would consider going through and reworking some of the pendulum stuff to get that a little looser. Seth, give me 1 minute. So Seth, let's look here really quick on yours. I think this last one. Overall, I think this is feeling pretty good. This feels a little slow toward the end, like it drifts to a stop. But your arc for your platform looks really good. I think it just still feels like it needs to. I feel like maybe there's a rotation that's missing in here on this arm because it's taking a little long to sort of rotate back and forth. And so I think having one additional one in there would really help make that timing feel like it's working a little bit better. Right now it's just feeling a little slow overall on the pendulum part of it. And do we have any other loose ones? Okay, sounds good. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.